Hello, we're here today with our Swaniti Fellow for Mr. Dinesh Trivedi, Harrsh Poddar. He's going to talk about his fellowship experiences with us. Thank you so much for joining us today, Harsh.
Thank you for having me, Anshuman.
So, to start out, can you tell us a little bit about your fellowship experience with Swaniti?
Well, it's been fantastic so far, Anshuman, and especially in terms of the sheer variety of experiences that we've had, and it's been an absolute riot in those terms. But specifically to comment on my experiences, as you know, I'm associated with the Indian Civil Services, and I think the fellowship has permitted me to sort of scale over and see a completely different half of government, which is the political side. And to most people from outside, government seems a large, unfathomable monolith in many senses. But I think for me to be able to see what happens on the policy making or on the political side has been increasingly useful, and there are important takeaways for my profession in the civil services as well. And that for me has been the most, personally has been the most enriching experience so far on the fellowship, getting this holistic perspective of government on the political side as well as supplemented by my background.
What do you think has been the most challenging part of the fellowship working with Mr. Dinesh Trivedi?
So that's a tough one, Anshuman. I think the fellowship has thrown up new challenges on a day-to-day basis. But just to sort of take a more high-level perspective, what I think has been most challenging has been able to repackage our deliverables, and those tend to be very specific with these fellowships, towards a specific target audience. And I think while government exists in a manner that's very elaborate, that has very specific laws, rules, procedures, etc., not all of it necessarily may be oriented towards achieving something for a particular target audience. So I think the greatest challenge that we have faced so far is to repackage what already exists, pre-existing concepts, institutions, etc., and be able to orient them towards what a particular target audience requires. So that for me has been the greatest challenge, and I'm hoping to succeed on it to a certain extent, if not all of it.
Wonderful. So, to wrap it up, as you see a lot of youth entering politics and governance and policy making, what is your advice to someone who's been there and done that to the youth who are trying to come in as a Swaniti Fellow or indirectly through policy making, through governance, through politics?
So Anshuman, I think politics, government, policy making, all of it is a wide enough swathe for one to be able to exercise multiple career routes for entry. And I would probably say that there isn't really a single point entry mechanism for people to come in. What's fantastic is that the scenario on the Indian scene has changed so much, where people coming in from non-civil service or non-political backgrounds can also successfully aspire towards a career in these fields. But just sort of in terms of listing out the kind of routes that you can take, well, I think a lot depends upon where in your career or age-wise you're situated. And obviously to a very large majority in the country, the civil services seems like an obvious option. But then I see this whole new generation of people who are coming in more at informal roles at various rungs of the political leadership in terms of assisting political leaders, policy makers, working as officers on special duty. But so far, until I think the Swaniti Initiative came up, there wasn't an institutionalized mechanism of getting people through this route. And that's why I think Swaniti is such a great project, because it's helping people come in from routes apart from the more formal routes of the civil services or joining as party workers. And one is actually able to take an informed call about whether this is really one's true calling or whether this is a profession that one might be interested in. So I think that would be my advice. Like, you can take a call between appearing for the civil services exam or associating yourself with a particular party, or you can come in through a route like this where you're formally or informally associated with political leadership and you're assisting them with policy making, all in a completely apolitical way, of course. And you can take a call about whether this is a career that suits you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us.